left to die in the Bitterroots. The rancher who refused to let her fall. Stay with me. Can you hear me? It hurts. I know it does, but we have to move. Before we begin, if you love powerful frontier love stories of courage, healing, and second chances, subscribe to Wild West Soul Stories. Hit the bell so you never miss a tale from the untamed West. Like, comment, share. Now, let's begin. The late October wind carried the sharp scent of pine and frost through the rugged wilderness of the Bitterroot Valley. Elias Boone rode alone along the frozen edge of Cedar Creek, checking his trap lines before the first hard snow sealed the high country shut. He was 38, broad-shouldered, quiet, weather-scarred, a man shaped by mountain wind and grief. 5 years earlier, fever had taken his young son. A year after that, his wife stopped speaking, stopped smiling, and one morning simply stopped breathing. The doctor called it heartbreak. Elias called it failure. Since then, the mountains had been his only companions. His black gelding suddenly stiffened beneath him. Elias felt it instantly. Something was wrong. The horse's ears pinned toward a thicket of fallen timber near the creek bend. Elias dismounted slowly, rifle already in hand. At first, he thought it was nothing more than torn cloth caught in the brush. Then it moved. A sound drifted toward him, faint, fragile, almost swallowed by the wind. A whimper. He froze. There, tangled against a fallen pine, lay a woman. Her dress was ripped. Her boots were gone. Blood had dried stiff against her side. One eye was swollen nearly shut. For one terrible second, he believed she was already dead. Then her fingers twitched. Elias dropped to his knees. "Stay with me," he said, voice rough from long silence. "Can you hear me?" Her lips parted. "It hurts." "I know," he whispered. "I know. We have to move." Her skin was ice cold. He removed his coat and wrapped it around her trembling body. She was shockingly light. Too light. Whoever had done this hadn't just beaten her. They had worn her down, starved her, broken her slowly. When he lifted her, she flinched, instinctively trying to pull away. "I won't harm you," he said firmly. "Not ever." Her one open eye searched his face, searching for cruelty, searching for deceit. Finding neither, she stopped resisting. The ride back to his cabin felt longer than any winter trail he had ever ridden. Each breath she took sounded uncertain. Each time her body sagged, he feared it would be the last. "Stay with me," he murmured against the wind. "Just a little longer." Elias's cabin stood miles from the nearest settlement, Silver Ridge. He carried her inside and laid her gently on his bed. Then he rode hard through gathering dusk to fetch the only doctor within 30 miles. Dr. Abigail Turner arrived near midnight. She worked in silence for a long time. Finally, she removed her spectacles. 2 cracked ribs, 1 broken clean, severe bruising, malnourishment, dehydration. Her jaw tightened. Someone meant for her not to survive. Elias swallowed. "Will she?" Dr. Turner looked toward the bed. "If she chooses to." For 4 days, Elias barely slept. He spooned broth between her lips, held water to her mouth, changed bandages with hands that could break bone, yet now moved like feathers. He spoke to her when she drifted near awareness. He told her about spring in the valley, about elk herds moving like rivers, about sunsets that turned snow lavender. On the 5th morning, her voice finally came. "Clara." Elias leaned closer. My name is Clara Ashford. Relief flooded him. I'm Elias Boone, he said gently. You're safe here. Her eyes filled, not with relief, with shame. You shouldn't have helped me, she whispered. That's not your decision. Her story came slowly, in fragments. She had once lived in Helena, educated, gentle, full of laughter. Then she met Victor Langston. He was polished, influential, powerful. After marriage, doors closed, isolation followed, then control, then violence. When she tried to escape, he hunted her. He and his men dragged me into the mountains, she said flatly. They beat me, left me to freeze. Elias's hands curled into fists. The law won't touch him, she continued. He owns judges. Elias rose and walked to the window. Let him come, he said quietly. Winter tightened around them. Clara healed, slowly. She began helping around the cabin, cooking, cleaning, bringing warmth to walls that had known only silence. Curtains appeared in windows. Dried herbs hung above the stove. Laughter, hesitant at first, returned. Elias kept his distance. He slept in the loft, never touched her without permission, never crowded her space. One evening, as snow battered the walls, Clara asked softly, Why are you kind to me? Elias stared into the fire. Because cruelty has already had too much say. January arrived merciless and white. Elias rode out early to check cattle. Clara was alone when she heard it. Hoofbeats. 3. Her blood ran cold. Victor Langston entered without knocking, still immaculate, still smiling. 2 armed men behind him. Did you truly think you could hide? He asked pleasantly. I'm not your wife anymore. You were always mine. He stepped forward. Clara grabbed the iron poker. He struck her before she could swing. Pain exploded. Then, the door burst inward. Snow swirled like smoke. Elias stood framed in the storm, rifle steady, eyes lethal. Step away from her. Victor's men reached for their guns. Elias fired once. A scream. Blood. The second man froze. This is a private matter, Victor said. It ended, Elias replied, when you left her to die. The rifle never moved. You have one chance, Elias said quietly. Leave. Victor saw it then. Not rage, not madness. Resolve. He stepped back. This isn't over. Yes, Elias said. It is. When they were gone, Clara collapsed. Elias caught her. She trembled violently. It's over, he murmured. I've got you. She clutched his shirt. I was afraid you wouldn't come back. I will always come back. She looked up at him. I love you, she whispered. The words trembled. I didn't think I could ever say them again. Elias cupped her face gently. I've loved you since Cedar Creek. His kiss was soft, questioning. She answered. Spring burst across the bitter roots. Lavender bloomed beside the porch Elias built. Word arrived from Helena. Victor Langston had been arrested. This time, money couldn't protect him. Clara stood reading the letter aloud. Then she smiled. I'm free. You always were, Elias said softly. They married in May. Simple vows, sincere promises. That evening they sat together watching the mountains glow gold. Do you ever regret finding me? She asked. Elias shook his head. You saved me too. And if darkness comes again? He kissed her hair. Then we face it together. The mountains stood ancient and silent, witness to a love born in violence, and redeemed by tenderness. left to die in the Bitterroots. Part 2. When the past refused to stay buried, Elias. Yes? Promise me something. Anything. If darkness comes back, don't lose yourself trying to protect me. A pause. I don't know how to do that, he answered quietly. Spring had come gently to the Bitterroot Valley. Snow melted into silver streams. Lavender bloomed beside the porch Elias had built with his own hands. Clara's laughter floated across the yard as she hung freshly washed linens in the wind. For the first time in years, the cabin did not feel like a refuge. It felt like a home. But peace on the frontier was never permanent, and some men did not forgive humiliation, even from behind iron bars. One afternoon in early June, a rider arrived from Silver Ridge. Elias saw the dust cloud first, then the urgency. It was Sheriff Dalton. He did not dismount slowly. He did not remove his hat politely. He rode straight to the porch. "Langston escaped," he said. The words fell like a stone into still water. Clara's hands went cold. "How?" Elias asked evenly. "Transport wagon overturned near Helena. 2 guards dead. He vanished into timber." A long silence. Sheriff Dalton looked at Clara. "He's heading south." That night, the valley felt different. The air heavier. Clara sat near the fire, staring into the flames. "He'll come for me," she said. Elias knelt in front of her. "Then he'll come through me first." She grabbed his hand. "That's what I'm afraid of." 3 days passed. No sign, no tracks, no smoke in the hills. Then the horses grew restless. Before sunrise, Elias stepped outside. The world was still blue with dawn. Too still. Then he saw it. Boot prints. Near the barn. Fresh. He didn't wake Clara immediately. He checked the perimeter first. Rifle ready. Every shadow examined. Nothing. But the message was clear. Victor Langston was near. Watching. Waiting. That evening, Clara stood beside Elias on the porch. "I won't hide," she said. "You don't have to. He wants me afraid." Elias studied her. "You're not." She shook her head slowly. "No, I'm not." For the first time, fear was no longer the strongest thing inside her. Love was. The attack came at night. No warning, no hoofbeats, just fire. The barn erupted into flames, bright and sudden. Clara gasped. Elias grabbed his rifle and ran. A shot rang out from the trees. Wood splintered near his head. Victor stepped from the shadows, calm, smiling. "You should have let her die," he called. Elias fired. Victor vanished behind cover. Flames roared higher. Clara appeared behind Elias with a bucket. "Get back inside," he ordered. "I won't leave you." Another shot, this one closer. Victor moved like a snake in darkness. "You think you're her hero?" Victor's voice taunted. "She was always mine." "No!" Clara shouted into the night, her voice breaking through smoke and flame. "I was never yours!" Silence, then movement. Victor emerged into the firelight, gun raised, and for the first time, Clara did not freeze. She stepped forward. "You don't own me," she said, voice steady. "You never did." Victor hesitated. That single heartbeat was enough. Elias fired. The bullet struck Victor in the leg. He fell hard into the dirt. Rage twisted his face. Elias approached slowly. Rifle aimed. "This ends now." Victor laughed weakly. "You think killing me makes you righteous?" Elias looked down at him. "No," he said calmly, "but sparing you once was mercy. This time, you answer to the law." Sheriff Dalton's voice echoed from the trees. "Drop the weapon, Langston!" He hadn't come alone. Several riders stepped into view. Victor's eyes widened. For the first time, he looked afraid. The barn burned to the ground, but the house still stood. And Clara stood beside Elias as Victor was shackled and dragged away. This time, there would be no escape, no influence, no silence bought with money. Days later, the valley felt lighter, not because the threat was gone, but because Clara no longer felt hunted. She walked freely, slept deeply, smiled without shadow. One evening, as the sun dipped low, she found Elias sitting alone near the ruins of the barn. "You saved me," she said softly. He shook his head. "You saved yourself." She sat beside him. "I wasn't strong before." "You were," he replied. "You just didn't know it." She leaned into him. "I'm not afraid anymore." He wrapped an arm around her. "Good." A pause. "Because we have a barn to rebuild." She laughed, and the sound echoed across the valley like a promise. Months later, a new barn stood stronger than the first, wider beams, deeper foundation. Elias carved something into one of the posts before sealing it. Clara noticed. "What did you write?" He smiled. "Second chances." She touched the wood gently. "Third, if we're counting." Autumn returned to the Bitterroots. But this time the wind carried something different. Not loneliness, not grief, but belonging. One crisp evening, Clara stood on the porch watching Elias mend fencing in golden light. She placed a hand over her stomach, smiled softly. When he returned, she took his hand and placed it there. His eyes widened. "Clara." She nodded. "We're not just rebuilding a barn." Emotion caught in his throat. For a man who had buried too much love, this felt like resurrection. That night, under a sky crowded with stars, Elias whispered, "I couldn't save my son." Clara squeezed his hand. "But you saved me." "And now," he said softly, "we build something that no one can break." The mountains stood silent around them, not as witnesses to violence this time, but as guardians of something unshakable. If this story moved you, if you believe the past does not get the final word, subscribe to US Wild West Love Story. Like this video. Comment "Second Chances" if you believe love can heal anything. And share this story with someone who needs hope tonight.